Hey Kris, it's Catherine, and this is our moment to tell you how much we appreciate you and all of the work you've done for MCEA.
I remember when I first met you, I was first elected in 1978, so probably sometime around 1979. There were a couple of kids hanging around the Capitol from Project Environment, you and Nelson French. And I said, well, are you related to Janet? I hadn't met you before, but I certainly knew your mother, one of the founders of the DFL Feminist Caucus. I was amazed at the energy that these couple of kids, persistent, well informed on everything, and really on top of things. And I remember working with the two of you. I was on the Legislative Joint Committee on Solid and Hazardous Waste, and you were very present there in all of our meetings and all of our issues. And then that 2.5-year-old battle to pass the state Superfund. Again, all the meetings, hour after hour after hour, and you were there doing your best the whole time. It was very impressive. All the work that went into passing that, we had the most advanced cleanup for hazardous waste of any place in the country, thanks to the efforts of folks like you.
Well, Kris, I can't think of a better place to be than these hallowed halls, to be recognizing you on your retirement after a career of amazing environmental work. How well I remember the work that we did on acid rain legislation, your tremendous efforts on the state Superfund law, which I am working with these days as I finalize my career cleaning up the St. Louis River. I remember many sailing trips to Bayfield and the Apostle Islands and canoeing those wild western rivers of Wisconsin, always thinking about the environmental policy work we were doing while we were having fun as well.
I was a member of the DFL Feminist Caucus. I also was working for the Sierra Club. I needed somebody to help me because I was a one-person staff at that time. Janet Sigford was a member of the Feminist Caucus, and I called those ladies my mothers in the movement. And she told me that she had this brilliant daughter who wants to work in the environment, and she really did a great job of putting us together. It was a wonderful thing.
Hi, Kris. Gene Merriam here. Say, what is this I hear about you retiring? Gosh, and during my time that overlapped with your time around the halls of the Capitol, as well as after I left the Capitol and went on the board of MCEA, it was delightful to see you in action because you had this great keen intellect. You always had a mastery of the details. You knew what the law was and what the regulations were, federal and state, and you know how everything fit into whether it was the Clean Water Act or the state administrative rules. So when legislators tried to bluff you or to outrun you, you were quick on your feet, and nobody knew more about the subject matter than Kris Sigford. You were a master of exercising that intellectual power that made you a dominable force for the environment.
Hey Kris, this is Jim. I was just remembering when you basically hired me at MCEA, you'd already had 24 years in the organization, and I was thinking that would be nice. And here I am at 20, and you're way beyond me again, leading the way at MCEA. And I just wanted to say how proud I am of you and how much I've always been impressed by your work.
I saw a lot more of you at the beginning when we used to work in the offices out of the Midland Bank building, and you were a lobbyist for the Sierra Club. Hello! It's me, Chuck. You get it about what it means to be a public interest advocate. Someone who lives and breathes the subject, who wakes up in the morning thinking about what's going on, who follows all the details, who knows all the laws, who knows all the people involved, and constantly strategizes on how to get done what we want to get done. I mean, you're to be congratulated for a great career and a great example of what that means to work in the public interest.
The other wonderful quality Kris had, one of many, was stepping back from the weeds, which we were heavily into while we were doing these projects, to be able to communicate to just regular folks what these audits came up with and what the ideas were that needed to be moved forward. We set up a day when a couple of TV stations would come in and do interviews with Kris, and she packaged the information differently for each station while still hitting the main points, which I thought was really amazing and well done. Kris is going to maintain her level of activity in the future. That not only relates to physical activities, exercise, things like that, but I will be very surprised if she doesn't end up volunteering for some or one or more environmental organizations and more or less continuing the kind of good work that she's been doing here for the last 30 years. It's a shame to waste all that knowledge and expertise, and I know Kris's heart is still with the environment, and I got to believe that she's going to follow through with that in her so-called retirement years.
We have a lot of people of Minnesota to thank Kris Sigford for the fact that we've got as clean a water environment as we do in this state. Thank you, Kris. Have a wonderful time. Relax in retirement. You know, I've been retired for a number of years now. Every day is Saturday. So take care. Great being able to talk to you today.
And Kris, this is to remind you of the view from your office window and help you remember the way to get to the Capitol, where you've made a difference for nigh on to 4 decades now. I want to say in closing, thanks for everything you've been doing for the last almost 4 decades. And I certainly want to wish you well in your retirement, but I expect and hope that you will continue to stay involved in all these important issues facing us that you know so much about. You've got a lot of important information tucked away in that gray matter of yours, and we need and depend upon it. So stay connected, Kris. We're counting on you.
You know, working in terms of fundraising with her, it was always about the dough, the do-re-mi, the dougage. You had to come up with the money to keep the project going.
The man with 3 last names, that's me.
Every time I meet somebody and I introduce myself and say, hey, I'm with MCEA, 9 times out of 10 they have the same reaction, which is, hey, I've worked with Kris Sigford. I worked with her on this water quality issue in the 90s or the 2000s. And it doesn't matter if it's somebody from one of our partner organizations or someone from an agency, that's a universal response. Kris has been at the forefront of all of our water quality work for so long that she's what we're known for and such an important part of our history.
I also remember your great sense of humor. I remember you and Carol Baudler would get bored at long, boring, drawn-out legislative hearings at the state capitol over in the state office building, and to kind of fight boredom and kill time, you took to developing a rating system for male derrieres on a 1 to 5 scale. There weren't many 5s in the legislature, as I recall.
Kris was our Italian friend because she was the one that preferred red wine when we went out to the Black Forest Inn. Here it is to you, Kris. Happy retirement. Love you.